WRPB Studios. So I have to tell you that the gentleman sitting next to me is going to talk to us about basically in the finance arena, and it is such a difficult thing for us regular people really to kind of understand because I'm going to believe that it's constantly changing. With me is Ray or Reyes. How are you, sir?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I am wonderful. So people call you Ray,
Call me Ray.
but it's REY.
REY.
Okay. All right. So before we go any further, how long have you been in the financial sector?
I've been doing multifamily real estate since 2016, so I focus primarily on real estate and single family real estate, so all the gamut of real estate since 2005.
So when you say real estate, are you focused on? Come to you and say, "Hey, I'm going to buy a multifamily house." Okay. Do you help with the financing? What do you do?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of people, when they say real estate, people automatically think of somebody, either a broker or somebody who is selling real estate.
Right.
We do neither. We actually work with our passive investor partners, and we acquire real estate, multifamily real estate, partnering together to do these larger acquisitions that provide us some scale. So I work with very busy professionals that are looking to become, to invest in real estate, but don't have the time nor the inclination in a lot of cases to deal with tenants and all this sort of thing. So we find the deals. We work with operators. By operators, I mean people that are actually focused on the returns that those properties provide, not the property manager, which is just one facet of these things. At the end of the day, passive investors, we're interested in what the return on investment is
Of
going to be
course.
on our investment. So we bring the deal to passive investors who bring a majority of the capital, and together we go after these larger assets.
Okay. Larger assets. Uh, 300 units.
Great question. Our last acquisition was actually in Rapid City, South Dakota, 272 units. So yes, very large. This is a Class A community, residential community,
Right.
in a great market right now that is has some very distinct advantages. And that's the other thing. We don't always focus on a location. We look for where the returns are the best, and that's where we look for those properties. It's not always the same case. I mean, it's sometimes we live in a great place, but they may not be the best place to invest, right?
Right.
So it just depends. So we go for that.
Okay. So my next question becomes, all right. So what about the guy that wants just a two-family home? You gonna work with him too?
So great question. So part of what we do in this business, and you talk to any real estate people, and you'll hear this. There's a lot of networking that goes on. So there are a lot of opportunities out there where people say, "Hey, I'm looking for this particular thing," and they describe it, and it may not fit within the box of what we are personally doing. But by just going out to these events and talking to other real estate people, we try to identify good partners that are doing different things, and then we're able to kind of, you know, through that network, hand off those individuals to what we believe are good people that can do exactly what they're looking for. So if you're looking for a duplex, if you're looking sometimes single family, and so we've got a network of people that do that. My wife is a real estate agent, and so a lot of times she's able to just refer people that are looking for a particular type of house in a location to folks in those networks that she's talked to and are operating in those areas.
Okay. My next question is, everything we've discussed has been residential. What about a shopping center or a hotel?
Great question. We have specifically stayed on the residential side. We've looked at some mixed use, which is typically what you're seeing now in a lot of places where you have apartments on top, and then on the bottom you have businesses.
Right.
We haven't found one that gives us the yield that we are looking for. Typically, when we're looking for properties, we're looking for properties that give a passive investor anywhere from a 7 to a 9% cash on cash, or at least a 15% annual rate of return. And so it's tough to find those, especially in newer assets. The yield is much lower. It's a lot safer, less risky, but you're not making a ton of money on those, right? So unless you just happen to buy right. Real estate is one of those things. No matter what you do in real estate, if you buy it right, it'll usually work for you.
You know, so I've had my real estate license for 35 years.
Okay? Right.
I don't sell residential.
Hmm.
I sell commercial. That's what I've sold. I haven't really done any. Um, I had it in Jersey. I did a lot in Jersey. That's where I made my money. When I moved here, I didn't get a license. And you can get away without a license doing commercial real estate.
Hmm.
But I had a heart attack and I had some time, so I went to take the test. Little did I realize that I'm older than dirt, and taking the test is going to be a lot more difficult than it was 30-something years ago.
Change, right?
And you need a 75 to pass.
Hmm.
I got a 74 three times. I had 8 days before I'd have to take the whole course again, and I finally passed.
Congratulations.
But I really haven't focused on doing deals because I had 3 studios at one time, and now I have this one, and we're busy here. So it's really kind of different for me. And um, I sit on the Stuart Martin Chamber Board, and I sit on DDS for Vets Board, and I sit on the advisory board for United Way. So I'm busy.
You're busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's when you get old. You need something to do.
And you look healthy, by the way. So congratulations that you were able to bounce back from that. Not a lot of people can.
Okay, that was 2018. 2010, I lost 40% of my lung function. Last year, at this time, I had 2 strokes.
Wow.
So I'm
And
still
you're
here.
still grinding.
I'm
Power
still
to
here.
you. I mean, what do we do, right? We just gotta. That's life, right? So
Right,
we
that
gotta
is
keep pushing.
exactly it.
Yeah.
So why did you get into this?
You know, I was so my background. I'm a retired lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army.
Oh,
And
so
I-
first,
Go ahead.
thank you for your service.
Thank you,
I
sir.
cannot do what I do if it wasn't for you guys.
Appreciate it. And I enjoyed my time in the military. You know, I had a very great career, but I always had the itch, even from when I was young, about real estate. And you're a real estate guy. You probably know what I'm talking about. It's just
Yep.
something that it's just something about real estate itself that you really enjoy, and I did. And so I had to make a conscious decision. Once I served my country, and I did for those many years, I had to make a choice. Do I stay in the Army and, you know, risk, you know, another deployment away from home? Not necessarily a risk that I hadn't taken before, but when you get older, you gotta pick sort of what you want to do. And so if I did that, I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do this going forward. My timing, like a lot of us, right? Where that clock starts ticking on what you can do, and I had to make that conscious decision
Right.
to retire so that I can do this. My job didn't allow me to, unfortunately, because of what I did in the military. I was an intelligence officer for a while, and I worked in a headquarters. We couldn't do real estate kind of on the side. It just doesn't work. So I had to really make that decision. And I'm happy I did. I mean, I enjoyed what I did for all those years. A lot of my clients are military.
That's good.
And I still stay in touch. But I'm really looking forward to doing this. And I've been doing it since 2019 at, you know, full-time real estate.
You know, real estate is something that's in your blood, okay? And you have to, whether you're a realtor, a real estate salesperson, a buyer, a seller, you have to have the mindset for it because it's so easy to make a mistake,
Yes.
okay? And it's, when I say make a mistake, I don't mean that you bought a property that didn't show you the return only. I mean that you didn't buy a property that could have shown you a return and you passed up on it and somebody else bought it. So you really have to be one that is willing to take chances. Okay? The bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. But it's hard to find people who have that mindset. Even people who just buy houses. So they buy a house, I'm going to round off numbers, for $100 grand. And then the market takes a tank a bit, and now it's only worth 80. And they're crying. Well, you're living in the house. By the time you're ready to sell it, it'll be worth $140,000. It's a matter of the real estate market is very cyclical.
Yes.
And you really just got to be able to go with the flow. So you get in, now who is your clientele? I mean, like, I tell you, hey, I have a 200 units. Like, is your clientele a group, a person?
That's a good question. So my clientele are passive investors that want to invest in real estate and get the advantages, the tax advantages of real estate without getting involved in the actual business of real estate.
Running it.
And so I match operators, those people that are actually finding deals, In some cases we find them, in some cases it's other operators. We vet those operators to make sure that they are the right kind of people for us to do business with, i.e. they have experience, significant experience, they have a track record, and then we match those operators in their deals or our deals with passive investors. And those passive investors putting the majority of the capital in these assets. Our fund, and so Stressless Capital has a fund under it, and our fund actually is customizable, which means that if I'm an investor and I want a particular type of deal within that fund, I can actually pick and choose what investments I do within that fund, which is very, very niche. Not a lot of people can do that. Usually when you have a fund, you invest in that fund and it's blind. You put your money in and it kind of gets put wherever, right? We do it a little bit different. We want people to see what they get a little bit more involvement and they can see what they're investing in. And so it gives them a little bit more control.
So Mary, who's part of that fund, you go to Mary and say, hey, I have 200 units. It's X amount of dollars. Do you want to be part of that fund in that investment?
Exactly.
Okay.
And Mary can choose to do that, or in a lot of cases, wait for the next one, or she may want to split her investment in multiple deals. She may say, okay, I'm going to diversify within this fund, and I don't want to put all my money in this one deal, even though I really like it. I want to put money in several deals just so that I have some flexibility, and that diversification reduces some of the risk. Because it is, to your point, right? This is real estate. There is some risk involved. We do the best we can, but we have to ride those cycles out. And so that's all part of the structure. But for our intents and purposes, we do all of the work so that passive investors don't have to. They get the information and the transparency on the deals. We do all of the work for them.
And so where do you fall in financially? So I bring you $100 million deal. I listed a $100 million deal, let's say, and I bring it to you. You bring it to your investors. You guys decide to buy it. Are you a partner in the deal? How are you guys involved?
Sure. The fund actually can plug into a deal in multiple ways. Typically, the fund can be a preferred equity partner to that deal, where essentially we're able to negotiate based on our ability to bring capital to bear, negotiate better splits for our investors in the deal. So as a preferred equity partner, the fund, the operators in many cases have syndication models that they use to also bring additional capital, but they're fall within that structure. So either we come in as a preferred equity partner, or the fund comes in as a limited partner overall into the syndication on that deal. So there's multiple ways.
And that's where you generate income for the fund.
The fund, yeah. So if we are on the general partnership side of an operation of a deal, then we don't pass on the cost to the fund. If it's just a fund and we're not part of the operations, then we do have obviously some costs that we have to manage on the fund side. But that's usually because we're able to leverage a better deal from those operators to make sure that we can take our piece without really taking away from the returns of the investors. The idea is, if an investor has a choice whether to invest directly into a syndication of a particular deal, or invest in the fund, it has to be more attractive to them to invest in the fund. And that's the way we do our math.
Interesting. We're actually having about time. You have a way people connect with you, a website?
Yes. So the fund itself, if you want to actually go to the fund and take a look at the fund, it's stresslesscapitalfund.com. Stresslesscapitalfund.com. If you just want to learn more about real estate and the business, we have a website that's just for education purposes, nothing on any particular deal, and that's stresslesscapital.com.
And your phone number if they want to call you?
954-667-9739. And they can actually reach me in many ways through my personal website, ismaelrayreyes.com.
Everybody, and that's been up on the screen. Again, I'm going to say it, I've said it a million times. When you get into something like this, what you're looking to do is not a DIY project, but one that sometimes they say it takes a village. And this kind of thing takes a village.
Absolutely.
Ray, I want to thank you for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Everybody, have a great day. We'll be right back.